You will have seen my channel logo of the Rabbit Nebula. I did this with the Procreate art app on the iPad Pro 2017. Creativity and its many different forms is something I'm very interested in, and one of the things I want to cultivate as a theme on this channel. I'm planning to do a video every week or two talking about a piece of my digital art, how it was put together, what inspired it, and what it means to me. And some of the pieces, they have some philosophical, even political kind of backgrounds that may lead to some other conversations that might be interesting. Before I do that, in this video, I wanted to talk a bit about how I got back into digital art last year, that's 2018, after a 25-year gap, and the sorts of digital paintings I've been experimenting with since I've got back to it. So, I worked as a digital artist in the late 1980s. I started out working on an IBM Clone 286. To give some perspective, the CPU of that machine ran about 500 times slower than the PCU I'm using to record this video. That could only produce graphics because it was connected to a very expensive external graphics box. It was called a Pluto something or other, I don't remember the name exactly. And it was only an 8-bit system, had only 256 colours. Later I did use 386s with external graphic systems that were 24-bit with millions of colours. I also worked on a Graphics Paint and 3D animation system. And that ran on a DEC mini computer. That's the things before personal computers. It was a big hulking dedicated workstation. It looked a bit like the image that's on screen now, although I don't think that's actually the one that I worked on. I mostly did graphics and animation in that first career as a digital artist for corporate video and conferences. But I also worked on a title sequence for an Australian TV miniseries called Ratbag Hero. I spent dozens of hours manually retouching still frames of characters in the Australian bush that came from the miniseries production to make them look like oil paintings. Ironically, a year or two later, after that, a program was released for the PC that had an algorithm that could create the same effect that I spent hours doing in a few seconds. And I've done graphic design since then, but no art really for about 25 years. I guess the only vaguely sort of creative arty type stuff I've done is just meme stuff on PowerPoint. Sometimes at work for fun if I've got an idle moment, or I sometimes do it just to post on Facebook. Here's a couple of examples. Is a meme type thing. A bear tends to its business in the woods and nobody hears. Is the Pope Catholic? I don't know whether you get it, but some people did. Thought it was mildly amusing. Here's another example, playing on the idea of conspiracy theories. They're fun, these kind of things, but they're not really digital art or anything desperately creative. It's just really a bit of horsing around. So I wanted to get back to doing digital art, painting, something really quite creative, for a while. And I've had a Wacom tablet for about 6-7 years. But there was something about sitting up at the PC and using the tablet that felt really formal somehow. I just couldn't sort of get relaxed and just get into a creative mode. What brought me back to digital art was actually the need to get a laptop replacement in 2018. Now, I was pretty wary of Apple. Somebody talked me into getting a PowerBook about 15 years ago, and something went wrong with it a week after the warranty expired, and it was so expensive to fix, I could have bought 2 PC laptops with better specs for the same money. So that in that case, I ended up getting just a PC, and I haven't touched Apple since. And look, I would never buy one of their laptops or desktops. They're just way too expensive for what you get under the hood. But I needed to get a new portable computer both for work and travel last year, and it happened the iPad 2017, as far as I could see, was the best power versus portability and battery life option at the reduced price point it had reached by that time, at least what I could see on the market. And it's true, the iPad 2017 and even the new one, as far as I can see, they're still not complete full laptop replacements. But what do I need a portable computer for? Word processing, email, surfing the web, Some fairly basic stuff. I mean, I like having the power and responsiveness which the iPad has, but I don't need a full PC for that kind of stuff. Just the basics. The fact that it had an excellent pencil input that felt natural for drawing and cheap art apps was a bonus, and it tipped me over into an actual purchase, because my gut told me that something that incorporated both a drawing tablet and a powerful device and excellent software I could actually afford would be a big impetus for getting back into my art. So here it is, complete with buddy picture. Nice, small, easy to handle, not too heavy. Even with the tight cover, it's not too heavy. Easy to draw on with a nice feel to the pencil. And it worked great. I could sketch and experiment sitting back on the sofa or sitting up in bed, watching telly or focusing entirely on the work. Working directly on the screen made me feel a much more direct connection with the work. And soon I was producing at least a couple of digital paintings a week. Here's the actual first image I created. As you can see, I've got a little bit better with the software since my first experimentation. But you've got to start somewhere. Here was me just experimenting with different types of brushes and effects. Same type of experimentation, but getting a little bit more sophisticated. Here's a later piece. I think I did this about 2 or 3 weeks after I got the iPad and Procreate, which this was done on. Well, I started to get a bit more confident and started to do things like this. This is kind of illustration. This is actually for something for one of my novels. And here's a bit of a later piece, another photo composition. Actually, these figures were done in a thing called Art Pose, which lets you kind of move figures around in 3D. One of the things that the iPad doesn't really have, it's got great graphics, 2D graphics, it's got great photo composition and drawing packages. There isn't really an easily available, easily controllable 3D package. I mean, there is one that's quite sophisticated, but it's not really easy for an artist to use, and it's not really geared towards art. It's more design. And since then, I've been experimenting with abstract type pieces. I've never really done abstract work before. Mostly, I've just done illustrative stuff or fairly realistic style things. I think that's one of the great things about working with the iPad, is it's kind of given me the space and the confidence and to just try out new things. Something else I've been experimenting with a lot is, because I got into digital photography 2 or 3 years back, is just taking photos and then taking elements of the photos and using them to kind of spontaneously build up pictures. So here's a picture of a balustrade in a staircase, and a place where I work. And here's a finished painting, which is actually made up of basically taking bits of that balustrade and merging them and stretching them and distorting them into this kind of alien monster landscape thing, which I don't think you'd ever quite realise just started off just as a photo of a fairly ordinary staircase. Now, I will admit, some of my experiments have not quite turned out as well as others. This one was very well intentioned, but I think it looks extremely stupid. But hey, I mean, I learned a lot from actually doing it. The other thing I've been experimenting with a lot is just geometric design type stuff. This actually originally was done on Affinity Designer, just the basic shapes, and then a lot of took that into Procreate and did a lot of retouching and kind of layers to get those different effects. Here's a different kind of geometric experiment. This one's a bit more painterly than the other one. And I've had a bit of fun too, going back to that sort of meme-ish horsing around. Is this one, the space turnips. And lastly, also some sort of political art. This one's obviously a kind of environmental style thing. Now, what I'll be doing with my when I make these videos every couple of weeks, probably, I think 1 a week's probably too much, is really just talk about how it was put together, and in this case, what the political message is behind it, how it makes me feel, what the creative process was. and back to the Sensible Bunny channel logo. So that's it for this video. If you found this interesting, probably this week or next week I'll start out making a video about the first one of these images. I'm not sure which one it will be, but hopefully it will be interesting.